and welcome to Sport Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Kingsley Emmanuel, and I'm very happy to be here this evening to bring you another exciting edition of Sport Extraordinary. On today's edition of the show, we shall take a look at the twist in the English Premier League title race, another exciting edition of the show, and you all need to sit tight as we're ready, of course, to take you 360 around the water sports this evening. We'll take a short break, and we'll come back from this break to bring you all that happened over the weekend in the water sports. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Here's the Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. Joining me on today's edition of the show, of course, is man you know so well. Michael is here. Good evening to you and welcome to another exciting edition of the show.
Yeah, good evening to you, Kingsley, and good evening to our viewers. Of course, it was a bumper package. It's a weekend that was full of a whole sporting activities out there. Bayern Leverkusen doing the unthinkable. Arsenal, losing grip in the title chase. Not forgetting Liverpool as well. I think a lot actually transpired over the weekend. I'm always very, very happy to be here to talk about some of the top stories.
A lot happened over the weekend, and of course, the big question this evening is the fact that can Manchester City, of course, maintain the lead to the end of the season? They are now top of the log now with 2-point difference against Arsenal, who are second on the log with 71 points. Liverpool are third with 71 points. Just goal difference separating Arsenal and Liverpool at the moment. City are top with 72 points. Of course, you will see impressive one courtesy of that victory also against Luton Town about the weekend. But we'll take a look at that as well on the show. Let's take a look at preparation for Team Nigeria ahead of the Olympic Games. We hear Nigerian athlete Favour Ofili over the weekend secured her place in the women's 200 meters event at the upcoming Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Her triumph came after stunning victory at the Tom Jones Memorial Classic at the James G. Priestley Stadium in Gainesville, Florida. Breaking out for the starting blocks with determination, Ofili blazed through the track, clocking an impressive 22.33 seconds. This timing not only represents her personal best in 2 years, but also surpassed the Paris 2024 Olympic qualifying standard of 22.57 seconds. Michael, very impressive one, of course, for Ofili, making it, of course, to the Paris Olympic Games.
Yeah, very impressive one, Kingsley, and the way she did that in a very grand style. Of course, beating the benchmark of the Paris Olympic game, which stand at 22.57 seconds. She actually clocked below that timing. She clocked 22.33 seconds. I think for me it was massive, making her
beating the Olympic standard of 22.57 seconds.
Yeah, that is what I said earlier. And for me, she's actually the 7th Nigeria athlete to have also made it through, with the likes of Chukwuebuka Enekwechi, the likes of Ese Brume, the likes of Tobia Motion, to mention but a few, joining them out there. I think it's a massive one. It's a great one for the Nigerian athlete, because most of our big names or our big guns here have also qualified. They have also, made their place out there to the Paris Olympic game. But looking at what Favour Ofili did over the weekend, I think, deserving of one of the tickets to get out there in Paris. I think for me, It was a great one. Let's hope that they can continue with this fine form, taking that to the Olympic game, because if they continue in this fine form, then there is hope for the Nigerian athlete that indeed we must smile home with gold, medal, silver, and the rest of it are there. So in all, it's a big congratulations to Favour Philly.
Congratulations to Favour Philly making it to the Paris Olympic. Now, in a fiercely competitive field, Philly emerged victorious, leaving behind formidable opponents Anambia Batu of the United States of America and Denmark Ida Kostov. Philly, a standing performance makes her the seventh, just like we heard from Michael. Seven Nigerian athletes to automatically qualify for this year's Olympic, joining Toby Amoso, Edesio Abadin, Rutu Soro Chukwebukai Nekochife Washe, and Ezekiel Nathaniel. Her latest achievement underscored Nigeria's progress in track and field, and a ticket to Paris is his testament to her resilience and unwavering commitment to succeed. Her success comes in her debut season as a professional athlete, highlighting her immense talent and dedication to the sport. Despite previous setbacks, including a disqualification from Tokyo 2020 Olympics due to administrative reason, Ophelia determination has prepared her to aim for new heights at the upcoming games in Paris. All right, let's keep our fingers crossed and see what, of course, you're able to do this time in Paris after putting up that impressive performance. But let's stay away from that, Michael, as we take a look at boxing. Nigeria heavyweight boxer Ifeanyi Jagba claimed a split decision victory over Guido Venello of Italy at the American Bank Center in Corpus Christi, Texas, United States yesterday. Jagba is now unbeaten in his last 5 bouts, and judges scored it 96-94 twice for Jagba and 94-96 for Venello. And the 29-year-old controlled the middle of all the bouts, but had to be at his best to stop Venello from taking the initiative in closing the round. So, Michael, is being 20 wins, of course, for the man, 14 knockouts so far for Ifeanyi Jagba.
What a way to continue his rise out there up the ladder. I think for me, Ifeanyi Jagba is doing the country proud. But then looking at that game of yesterday, over the weekend rather, I think it was highly competitive, keenly contested encounter. You want to say you saw him taking some of those punches out there from his opponent out there, but then he was able to also hold his own very strong, though with the Nigerian spirit out there. So for me, I think if Jagba is on the rise, and we must also, give him the needed support, because according to him, shortly after that victory, that he's aiming to become, the world champion in future. And looking at his growth so far, the way he's taking it game after, game, it clearly tells you that indeed this man can also, meet up with that dream and aspiration of his of becoming a world champion, having fought about 20 fights so far, 14 knockouts, just 1 loss out there. It tells you of how impressive, he has been so far. So for his growth so far, I tell you, he has been very, very good on the ring out there.
Ifeanyi Jagba, of course, putting smiles on the faces of Nigerians. But let's start away from that as Brazil Alex Pereira pulled off a stunning first round knockout victory over Jamal Hill to retain the UFC light heavyweight title, wise, and while it beats Young Sonan to retain the strawweight belt at UFC 300 over the weekend. Pereira waved off for what looked to be a low blow from Hill before landing a left hook that sent the American sprawling backward onto the canvas. He then pounced to rain down blows and force the stoppage at the 3 to 14 at 3 minutes 14 seconds mark for the first round. He had won the title in January 2023, but an injury suffered playing basketball forced him to vacate in July, and decorated boxer Pereira, former UFC middleweight champion, took over the belts with second round knockouts of Jerry Prochazka in November. Alright, so away from that, let's talk tennis. Nigerian sole flag bearer at the ICC World Cup Marco 2024 Quadri Aruna has been drawn in Group 15 for the men's singles, as the Nigerian will slug it out against Portugal's Marcos Freitas and Puerto Rico's Daniel Gonzalez. The 48 players have been drawn into 16 groups of 3 players in each group, with the winner in each group advancing to the second stage of the competition. Aruna, who has been a regular fixture at the ICCF World Cup, remains the first and only African to have reached the quarterfinal stage of the $1 million prize money tournament, and he is expected to begin his campaign against Portugal Frites on Monday, 15th of April, which is today. Michael, what do you make of this one? Aruna, do you see him getting through the
Always of Aruna Quadri, we know what he can be able to bring to the table any day, any time when he's on in a good game, when he's on he's having a good day in office. But then, looking at some of the opponent that is going to be square off against, I think they are also not a bad opponent as well. But then, I trust with the fine form of Haruna Quadri is going to take that down there to ensure that at least he get to the next stage. We saw what he did in the just concluded All-African game here. If not for Omar Asa, who also served that blow against him for not able to allow him to lay hand on the gold medal in that tournament out there, I think by now we should have been talking of Haruna Quadri as the African champion in the just concluded All-African game. But then his quality for me is never in doubt. So I see him progressing through from this stage. But the question is, do we actually have a replacement for Haruna Quadri? Because that is where I'm actually worried. He's no longer, that young. He's aging, and we need to produce other Haruna Quadri that can also take up the baton of leadership when he actually decided to, throw in the towel. So for now, but for me, I think we need to do a lot in that regard, because I can't actually find a replacement as it is right now for Haruna Quadri. You know what happened to us last time, about 3 months ago, when we were about to... And guess what happened? We went out there, couldn't be able to win a single game just because the captain of the team is not there. So for me, I think it's quite worrisome that we have not been able to produce the replacement for Haruna Quadri, because like I said, if anything happens, maybe injury set in, who is that next Haruna Quadri that is going to fill up that shoe? I think this is the angle, this is the area I expect the Nigerian Table Tennis Federation to be working on right now, so that we can be able to find replacement for some of these our best hand, because age, is no longer on his side, like I said. But then, going back to the discourse, I think he has what it takes to progress through this, group.
All right, so let's see how it goes. We'll be looking forward to see that action, of course, for Haruna Quadri today. Now, while his last group match will be tomorrow, April 16, against Puerto Rico's Gonzalez, and of course we'll see how that one will go down. But Egypt trio of Omar Sarr, Ahmed Salah, and Mohamed El Bailey have been drawn into Group 16, 11 and 9 respectively. African Games champion Assar was locked out against Sweden through Mogad and Iran's Noshad Amiyan. Egyptian veteran Salah has been handed a tough Group 11 as he will battle former European champion Dan Q of Germany and Japan's Shun Sunke Togami. Bali, who is debuting at the ICCF World, will jostle for top spot against Jan Wojin and France Simon Goose in Group 9. Also, 3 Egyptian and Cameroonian will represent Africa in the women's singles, as Yusa Hemi, Hannah Koda, and Mariana Ahodabi will campaign in Group 9, 12 and 11, while 11 alongside Korea Jo Seungho and Brazil's Bruna Takahashi. Let's start away from the world called the ITTF and look at what's happening, of course, in long tennis. Stefano Tsitsipas beats Casper with 6-1, 6-4 to win his third Monte Carlo Masters title in 4 years. The Greek Tsitsipas, who is 35 years, dominated the opening stages and sealed the first set inside 36 minutes. The victory took Tsitsipas to 7th in the world ranking, and he fell to the floor in emotion after his win. Another win, of course, Monte Carlo win for Stefano Tsitsipas.
Great achievement for Tsitsipas. Immediately, he actually defeated the likes of Zverev and Jannik Sinner. I knew that he was heading for the final, and of course, heading to the final after defeating some of these best hand, in the system, you expect him to get to the final. So, winning that very one is a big boost for him. It also goes a long way to also add to his ranking, because I think the point that he has been able to amass from that, not talking about the money, the point, is also very, very important to ensure that he continue to be up there with the likes of Novak Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz, and even Yannick Sinner. So for me, I think it was an impressive display from Tsitsipas. Let's hope that he can be able to keep up this fine form going forward, because if he does, then he have a stake of also even improving on the world ranking come next month, because we still have other tournament that is coming up, So we had the likes of Yannick Sinner, Zverev, and some other big names that took part in this very well. So for him to be able to, tame down some of these big names and get to the final and lift, it clearly tells you that indeed, he has come a long way. So I think for me, it was an impressive display for him.
Do you think this performance, of course, is yet to stay, because consistency has been what we've not really seen from him as well?
Yeah, like they do say that, form is temporal, but class is more like, permanent. If you talk about his form, if he can be able to stay consistent, that I cannot tell. But then, one thing is very certain: for the fact that he has emerged victorious in this very one, he definitely know that he must also continue in this fine form if he truly want to, keep up the pace out there. Because having won this very big one, it's going to be more of challenge, more of responsibility for him, to be able to stay up there, because it comes with a whole lot of pressure. Because there are so many players right now that will take you very, very serious whenever they get to meet you in any other competition, courtesy of this achievement that he has, achieved for himself. So for me, I think it's a call for him to also brace up and also sit up, to the hype and of what he has achieved. Because if he does not, then I don't see him maintaining this, form. But for me, looking at what he has done so far in the last 2 months, I tell you, if he can be able to, keep up that momentum, then we can possibly say yes, in the near future, we might see him also climb up the ladder when you talk about the rankings.
Now, the success concluded a significant tournament for Tsitsipas, as he also beat top 10 players like Zverev, just like you heard from Michael, and Yannick Sinner to reach the final. Talking about Yannick Sinner, I don't want to talk about Zverev because his own level of inconsistency, is out of this world. But talking about, Yannick Sinner, this is his second loss this season.
For me, after winning the Australian Open and also defeating some of the big names out there, taming them down to also clinch that very one, I think many responsibility has been placed upon him and many pressure. A whole lot of pressure comes in, Kingsley, when you get to win a big tournament for yourself. A whole lot of pressure comes with it, and there are not too many players that have the mental capacity to be able to also absorb this pressure that comes, with you winning such major, tournament out there and stay strong. So I guess it's one of the reasons. But then we can't take away the fact that Yannick Sinner is one of the best hand so far when you talk about tennis. Where if you mention the likes of Novak Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz, I think you can't mention any other third player without sounding the name of Yannick Sinner. But then, like I said, the pressure of staying top, after winning such a big competition for yourself is always a problem. But then I see him bouncing back, because we are seeing a whole lot of competitiveness within the ATP. So as it stands right now, and that is why no player is out there none of the players is ready to back down. They want to give you a fight for your money, and if you don't live up to that that big reputation, that big shoe that you've actually covered for yourself, then you might likely see other players who are not within the rank of possibly 8 to 10 coming to give you a run for your money. And I think that is what is happening to Yannick Sinner. But be rest assured that definitely he will be able to come back very strong. Of course, he's been getting wild card out there to take part in 1 or 2 competitions, but then he never live up to the hype out there. And it tells you indeed that his time has come and gone. I said it time with that number. That for me, I just think it's time for Rafael Nadal to just quit the stage right now, because it will make no sense after you've also achieved a lot.
Djokovic, I mean Djokovic, because at the Monte Carlo Masters, he didn't actually, of course, we saw him being hosted out.
Yeah.
Everyone thought, after parting with his coach, he's coming up with a new tactics, as it is. But after winning two or three games down there, he was actually being also out of the competition. Since this season, Djokovic hasn't won any tournaments.
And it's not very, very strange for me because immediately he lost that final to, Yannick Sinner. Then other players began to have the belief that indeed if Yannick Sinner can also, tame down a big name player such as Novak Djokovic, then they have what it takes as well to also, defeat the fearsome, Novak Djokovic, who for me, he is like, the landlord in the world of tennis right now. So ever since then, I think he has been finding it very, very difficult to maintain that high standard. And for me, he need to work himself, to the bone to be able to come back very strong, because we have other great players as well who also want to make a name for themselves by also, taking part in, not just taking part in competition, but taking part with the aim of going far to lift it, and also when they do, then the point margin that they are going to rack up there. Some of this tournament has about 1,000 points that is at stake, and you know what that means. If you get to rack up the 1,000 points at stake to add to what you have already, and that takes you closer to even maybe number 2, number 3. We saw Carlos Alcaraz, who was seated world number 2, being hosted at right now. Now, as it stands, Carlos Alcaraz, is seated world number 3, and courtesy of this injury again that have also blighted his, anticipation of taking part in the Barcelona, Open, is going to also water down his ranking. So for me, I think, courtesy of the fact that Novak Djokovic, was defeated by Yannick Sinner the way he did, I think other players are also beginning to have that self-belief in them that they can also, square off against Novak Djokovic, and that is why, he's not been getting a fine result. But I trust with his wealth of experience, he can also, work on himself and some areas that I think he need to work on and bounce back very strong, because we need him, on the stage to be able to keep other players like, Carlos Alcaraz, Tsitsipas, Zverev, and the rest of them on their toes as well. So, because when you have a great player in your mix, you want to also work extra hard so as to match up the potentials or the skills and talent of such an opponent out there. And like I said, Novak Djokovic really need to also work on himself and bounce back very strong, because we love that competitiveness within the ATP.
Of course, competitiveness in the ATP. Let's take a look at the Barcelona Open. Just like you mentioned, the man, of course, Alcaraz, has a setback, of course, for him. He won't be participating in that one due to injury. But Rafa Nadal, we hear he might, of course, be in the Barcelona Open.
I do not give him any chance at all. Rafa Nadal, we saw how he has actually struggled. Finding it difficult to be able to bounce back and replicate the form we know of him. I think he has been having a very bleated performance so far. Since he came back from injury, he has actually struggled. So for me, I'm not also rating him very high to do anything special or spectacular at the Barcelona Open. I still see other younger players like Zverev. Now that Carlos Alcaraz will be out in this very one, I think we are going to see a new victor come this time around in the Barcelona Open. But for Nadal, I do not think that he has what it takes to be able to take up against these younger lads.
All right, let's quickly take a look at golf now. As world number 1, Scotty Scheffler won the Masters for his second time after commanding performance at Augusta National demonstrated why he was the red hot pre-tournament favorite. Scheffler, who led overnight by a shot, hit a 4 under 68 in yesterday's final round to finish 4 clear on 11 under. Sweden's Ludvig Abek shot 69 to finish runner-up on his major debut. England Tommy Fleetwood ended jointed with American pair Colin Morikawa and Amos Homa. Michael, what do you make of this one once again for the man Scheffler doing it back-to-back this time?
Massive victory for Scheffler out there. And for me, I think he's rewriting history for himself, or making a history for himself. I think still very much young. At 27, he's pulling up such massive string out there. I think it's a great one. The likes of Tiger Woods, McIlroy, these are some of the big names that we've seen in the past as well, but I think their time is gradually fading away, and we're having a new poster boy in the mix in the world of golf out there. I think for Scheffler, he's done a great job. Let's hope that he can continue in this fine form. But I tell you, he is on a world of his own as he stands right now. Nobody comes close to him. But then, like we'll continue to say, will he be able to maintain this consistency? In the next 1 or 2 years, maybe we'll come up with a very concrete and a credible answer to that question, if we can be able to maintain this high form that we've seen of him.
Quick one, let's take our eyes now to the NBA in the United States of America. After several months and a dramatic final day, the NBA's regular season is over and all eyes turned to the playoffs. 12 teams have booked their spots, but the final 4 places will be settled by the play-in tournament, which starts tomorrow and features the likes of LeBron James, Los Angeles Lakers, and Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors. Which teams have secured the spots? Of course, in the playoff. Talking about the teams that have secured spots in the playoff, we have Boston Celtic in the Eastern Conference, New York Knicks, Milwaukee Bucks, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Orlando Magic, and Indiana Pacers as well in the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, made it to the playoff. Denver Nuggets, defending champion, made it to the playoff. Minnesota Timberwolves also made it to the playoff. Los Angeles Clippers made it to the playoff. Dallas Mavericks and Phoenix Suns, of course, made it to the playoff. But talking about the play-in, which starts, of course, tomorrow. It will start tomorrow and end of Friday. The play-off tournament, of course, in each conference, the teams that have finished the regular season between 7th and 10th place will compete for 2 additional playoff spots. The team that finished 7th will face the side that finished 8th, while 9th place team will play the 10th place team, and the winners of the 7th, 8th match will gain a playoff spot as the 7th seed. The losers will face the winner of the 9th to 10th match, and the winner of that match will take the 8th seed as well. So it promises to be an impressive playoff and play-in tournaments in the NBA. The NBA, of course, gradually coming to an end. See, of course, who get this one. Denver Nuggets already, of course, they've qualified to the playoff already. They have the means of defending the the title they won last time. We keep our fingers crossed on that particular. But at this point, we'll take a short break, and when we'll come back from the break, we'll take a look at the latest coming from the world of football. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
'From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable
You are a human trafficker.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. Of course, it's time for me to bring you the latest from the world of football. And Michael, let's start from the home team as Rivers United have emerged champions of the 2024 Rivers State Federation Cup after a 2-0 win over Ofrima FC at the Dokia Mesimaka Stadium. The Pride Rivers, who were knocked out of the CAF Confederation Cup by Union Sportive de la Medina Oja, ESM Oja took the lead in the encounter through Deputy Echeta and 37 minutes before Alex Yowa got
coming back home right now. There's definitely know that the home scene is where they need to fight from all front right now to be able to finish the season very strong. So for me, I think this victory will spur them up to also want to fight back and win some of the outstanding games that they have, because in the top flight league, talking about the MPFL, they have about 5 to 6 outstanding games right now. So I think let's hope that this victory can also propel them to also fight for some of the points that will them to finish very strong. And again, coming at a time where we hear that the coach of the side is also being suspended immediately after that disappointing outing in the continental game. Can the players be able to stick with the assistant coach and also deliver the deliverables in some of these games that is remaining? It's a big question that they need to answer in the pitch of play out there. But then I think it's a nice one to see that they are back to winning ways.
Nice one to see Rivers United, of course, coming back to winning ways. Let's move straight down to Germany as Nigerian Victor Boniface, I beg your pardon, scored the opening goal and assisted in another as Bayer Leverkusen humbled Werder Bremen 5-0 to clinch their first ever Bundesliga title in style yesterday. Michael, what do you make of the feat for Xabi Alonso and his men?
Impressive display from Xabi Alonso and his men, Kingsley. I think in the history of the club since 1904, about 120 years down the line, they have not lifted the Bundesliga, and this time around they are doing it in a very good fashion, having played 29 games, won 25 out of those 29, drawn 4 so far. I think they are in for what the Arsenal fans will call the invincible so far, because they just have 5 games to go. So I think it's a great job, Xabi Alonso. But one thing that interests me about Xabi Alonso is not the fact that they actually won the Bundesliga, but looking at where Bayern Leverkusen were before Xabi Alonso took over in 2023, they were actually seated 17th. That is the relegation zone out there, but he was able to keep them afloat of the top flight league out there. Then in 2023, he also had to push them and get continental ticket, European ticket out there. This is 2024. He's doing massive thing. He has won the league already with 5 games to spare. I think for me, this man truly deserves his flowers. 29 games played, 25 wins, 4 draws, 70-something goals scored, 19 goals only conceded, 43 games played in the whole of Europe without losing any, and they still remain the only team in the Europe top 5 leagues that have played as many games as possible without losing any. I think the magical touch of Xavi Alonso need to be studied in the University of Cambridge as it stands right now, but then he must also give credit to some of his players like Florent Wies, who has been very, very impressive. Not forgetting our own Boniface. Even when he went out injured for 3 good months, he still remained one of their top strikers so far this season, with loads and loads of assists out. The likes of Nathan Taylor, Frimpong, and again, not forgetting Granit Xhaka, who left Arsenal for while Arsenal qualified for the Champions League, down to Bayern Leverkusen. And somebody tweeted that the god of Granit Xhaka must be praised for what he did for Granit Xhaka, because I don't think he should have been able to leave the EPL with Arsenal if he did not leave. So for me, I think in all, Xavi Alonso need to be given kudos for what he has done, and most especially he has waded off interest from clubs like Liverpool, Bayern Leverkusen, to also say that he's going to stay with this club to continue to build and have vision. And this is not surprising, because for me, Alonso played under some of the best coaches in the world of football: Rafa Benitez, Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola. These are some of the greatest coaches that he has played under. So I think he's mixing that experience of having played under some of these top coaches, and also try to add 1 or 2 things to it, and that is what we are seeing Xavi Alonso. I think it's a big history that he has actually created for the club. We saw the fans yesterday sharing that moment of joy and emotion, where they actually invaded the pitch to celebrate with their players. And for me, it's an impressive game. Congratulations once more to them.
Congratulations to Bayer Leverkusen, and we hope, of course, they keep this momentum going forward. And talking about other results, Darmstadt, they actually lost to Freiburg by 1-0. Bayer Leverkusen, of course, totally beat Werder Bremen 5-0. Bayern Munich beat FC Cologne by 2-0. Bochum played 1-0 draw against FC Heidenheim, and we saw Borussia Mönchengladbach, they lost to Borussia Dortmund by 2-1. Mainz beat Hoffenheim by 4-1. RB Leipzig beat Wolfsburg by 3-0. Stuttgart beat Eintracht Frankfurt by 3-0. Augsburg, of course, beat Union Berlin by 2-0. But let's take a look at the Premier League. Michael, was really an abysmal outing for Arsenal and Liverpool Football Club, as both teams, of course, dropped points. Arsenal lost to Aston Villa by 2-0 at Emirates. Liverpool also losing to Crystal Palace as well in that particular encounter. What do you make of it? The point drop for these two teams. City now, they won their game against Crystal Palace, and they were able to go top, of course, on the log. What do you make of it? Manchester City on top, can they maintain the lead down to the end of the season?
Yes, of course. I think Manchester City has what it takes to maintain this lead to the end of the season. Of course, this is the exact time at the tail end of every season that you truly understand what it means, that you need not to drop any point. And of course, Pep Guardiola truly understands this timing in every season. Immediately get to the tail end of the season, Pep Guardiola doesn't joke with you, and he finds it very difficult to drop point. And looking at the fixture that is remaining, you want to say yes, Manchester City is highly favored to also win the EPL for the 4th consecutive time, which for me is going to make the EPL more like a farmers league, because since Pep Guardiola came over to England, the whole hype, the whole talk about the EPL being one of the most exciting league and one of the competitive league in the world, I think Pep Guardiola, with his tactical prowess and coaching ability, is trying to rewrite that history. He has also equaled the record of Manchester United being the only club in England to have won it 3 consecutive times, and he's going the fourth one. So for me, I think the road is very clear. The coast is very clear right now for Manchester City to sail through. And no thanks to Arsenal, who couldn't hold their own against Aston Villa. Not to mention even Liverpool, who went down 14 minutes of the first half against Crystal Palace, but were unable to respond to find an answer to that early goal scored by Berechi Eze. So for me, I think you say that all this is playing to the advantage of Manchester City, and it will be quite difficult for Manchester City not to be able to lift this very well, because I tell you, Pep Guardiola truly understands the hand of time at this point in time.
Pep Guardiola, of course, understanding the hand of time at this point, can we say it is done and dusted for Liverpool and Arsenal in the title race?
Almost. You had the voice of Paul Mason, former Arsenal legend player, rather, who was very, very furious. I mean, he couldn't hold back some of his words. And he said that it is done and dusted for Arsenal. They've actually bottled the league just like the way they did last season. Last season was even more worse, because last season they actually they had to sit for 248 days on the league, but at the dead end of it, they had to bottle it, and they are almost doing the same trajectory of what happened last season. This is the same time that Nottingham Forest, Mikel Arteta, and I believe that Unai Emery actually used some of this experience to his own advantage. But in all, I think it was a shambolic and a disappointing performance from Arsenal point of view.
Very disappointing performance now from Arsenal down there. We told you Liverpool lost to Crystal Palace by 1-0. West Ham United, they lost to Fulham by 2-1. Arsenal lost to Aston Villa by 2-1. Newcastle United beat Tottenham by 4-0. Brentford beat Sheffield United by 2-0. Burnley played 1-draw against Brighton and Hove Albion. Manchester City beat Luton Town by 5-1. Nottingham Forest, of course, played 2-draw against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and Bournemouth played 2-draw against Manchester United. Michael, United, playing the draw down there against Bournemouth.
Not a good result for Manchester United, who was hoping to see if they can be able to fight back and see if they can finish within the top four so as to make it a Champions League spot. After their disappointing outing in the Champions League this season, I think for me this one is a big setback in their quest to see if they can be able to get a ticket for the top four for the Champions League finish. After Tottenham lost to Newcastle 4 goals. Is it 4 to 5 goals? 4 goals to nothing. I thought maybe Manchester United is going to capitalize on that advantage by taking all 3 points so as to closing the gap, for the top 4 finish. But then Bournemouth had a different game plan altogether, as they were able to dictate the pace, control every angle of the game. In fact, Manchester United had to beg for a draw, so for me, though some of their fans, some of the Bournemouth fans is also complaining about the officiating. They thought that the referee that was awarded to Manchester United was not deserving. I think for me, they have a very cogent reason out there. You have to go back and watch the clip of that game. I do not think that it was a penalty, and they say that they truly deserve to go home with all 3 points, but because of bad officiating or poor officiating, they actually were unable to get all 3 points. But for me, I think it was a good game for Bournemouth, who also defeated Manchester United, took all 3 points away from them in the first leg. So it's no surprise for me. But one man, Eric Ten Hag, he will always come to the media to wax lyricals whenever he get it wrong out there, and he's continued to wax that lyricals. You heard when he was being interviewed shortly after that game, he said that his team fought so hard that he need to give them credit. I was like, credit for a game that we were supposed to get all 3 points so as to close in the gap? I think it was a quite disappointing and a shambolic display from Manchester United point of view, and their hope of finishing within the top 4 is further slipping away from them as it stands right now.
Of course, Las Palmas in the Spanish La Liga, they lost against Sevilla by 2-0. Granada beat Alaves by 2-0. Atletico Bilbao played 1-0 against Villarreal. Real Sociedad played 2-0 against Almeria, and Atletico Madrid beat Girona by 3-1. Rayo Vallecano played goalless against Getafe. Real Mallorca lost to Real Madrid by 1-0. And Cadiz, of course, lost to Barcelona by 1 goal to Real Betis. Beat Celta Vigo by 2 goals to 1. Courtesy of that win for Real Madrid, they stayed top on the log with 8-point difference between them and Barcelona.
Sensational display from Real Madrid. Of course, that long goal, you saw the beautiful outside 18-yard strike from Aurelio Tchouameni out there. This is what it means for you to have young players who are willing, to take advantage of long-range shot, to launch in, to see if they can be able to get the goal, and that is what Tchouameni did, that actually gave them all 3 points, that long goal victory. So for me, I think it's just a matter of days or weeks, then Real Madrid is going to wrap up the league, but then unless there's any last-minute miracle before we can say, yes, possibly my Barcelona may come back into this one. But I tell you, with 8-point adrift of the league leader, talking about Real Madrid with few games to go, I think Real Madrid have already won the league, to say the least, as it stands right now in the La Liga. But then one area that we need to also talk about is about the ability of Coach Carlo Ancelotti to be able to make changes to alter his team and also get the result. This is something that many persons are not talking about out there. I mean, Carlo Ancelotti is this coach that always very, very bold to make changes. It doesn't matter whether you are the fulcrum of the team, whether you are the engine room of the team, but when he wants to make that alteration, he does it, with ease, and he gets all the 3 points at stake. So for me, I think he has proven to be one of the greatest coach in the history of the game as it stands right now.
All right, let's stay away from that. Let's take a look at the Italian Serie A. Napoli played 2-0 draw against Frosinone. Sassuolo played 3-0 draw against AC Milan. Inter Milan played 2-0 draw against Cagliari. More draws, of course, in the Italian Serie A over the weekend. Leeds, of course, beat Empoli by 1 goal to 0. Torino played goalless against Juventus. Bologna played goalless against Monza, and we saw Lazio they beat Salernitana by 4 goals to 1. In the French League, Le Havre lost to Nets by 1 goal to 0. Clermont Foot played 1-0 draw against Montpellier. Lyon beats Brest by 4 goals to 3. Strasbourg beats Rennes by 3 goals to 1. Rennes also they lost to Toulouse by 2 goals to 1, and Metz beat RC Lens by 2 goals to 1. But at this point, we'll call it a wrap, and we can't go without telling you that the match